Hey, everybody. I am Patrick Shaka, editor-in-chief of Yachting magazine. I am joined today by Steve Howd, aftermarket products manager of DC Thrusters for Imtra. And, today we have a really cool topic to talk about. Whether you are an experienced yachtsman or you're new to boat handling, one thing that can make your boating better, whether you're operating in an unfamiliar marina or, again, if you're new to boating, are thrusters. And there are different types of thrusters. And today we're talking about the Sleipner proportional thrusters. So with that, good morning, Steve. Good to see you.
Good to talk to you again, too.
Yeah. So get started. A couple of weeks ago, Steve and I had a chat, and we went in depth about the Sleipner proportional thrusters and how they can make your boating better. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you that chat that we had a couple of weeks ago. And then just on the other side of that, we're going to go live and answer all of your questions with our expert on all things Sleipner proportional thrusters, Steve. So with that, let's take a look at that video, and we'll see you again in a few minutes. Hey, everyone. I'm Patrick Shaka, editor-in-chief of Yachting magazine. I'm joined today by Steve Howd, aftermarket product manager of DC Thrusters for Imtra. And today we have an awesome topic to talk to you about. And today we're going to be talking about the Sleipner proportional thrusters. Now, we all know how thrusters really help in particularly in close quarter boat handling, but not all thrusters are created equal. And so today we're going to talk with Steve about what makes the Sleipner proportional thrusters different from everything else out there. So good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. So, in brief, for people who may not know, what is a Sleipner proportional thruster and how does it work to enhance boat handling?
Yeah, so in 2011, Sleipner launched their proportional thrusters. And in short, it allows the operator to control their bow or stern thruster in a full throttle range. From 0 to 100% thrust. It's a huge benefit because you're not always, bumping the thruster to get just a little bit of thrust. You can operate it at 10% thrust to keep you against a dock. And there's a hold feature there that is integral to the whole system.
So people know, usually it's the thruster is on, the thruster is off. So what are the primary differences between your traditional on-off thruster, which is 0 to 100, and the Sleipner proportional thruster?
Yeah, so basically it's the same motor and gear leg. So it's the same thruster. We just change the wiring on the motor and how we operate and control the system as a whole. So there's a temp sensor in the motor of the proportional thruster that reads resistance. And we use a PPC, proportional power controller, to communicate with the motor itself and operate it at different levels of thrust. In addition to that PPC unit, we also use the S-Link system, which is Sleipner's own NEMA network that the thrusters and any other device can work on. And instead of a standard on-off joystick, we offer a PJC controller that has a display screen, allowing you to get real-time feedback from the thruster at your helm.
For people who may not know, what is a PJC control screen?
So the PJC is the proportional joystick controller, unlike the on-off controller where you just have the on button, the off button, and the joystick itself. The proportional joystick controller has a screen on that system that will show you real-time performance data and allow you to do diagnostic testing if any issues were to arise as well.
You had mentioned a little earlier about the hold feature. Now, while there may be some other products that have hold features, wasn't it Sleipner that was doing hold since day one?
Yep. Yeah. Since day one in 2011, when they launched, they've had the hold feature. Unlike some of the other hold features out there, ours is actually adjustable while you're using it. So you don't have to reset, turn the thruster off and then reset the hold at a certain level of thrust. We can micro adjust it in 10% increments right from the control panel. So if you're trying to hold against the dock and you're getting gusted off by the wind, you can easily adjust that to add a little more thrust without having to do a reset.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great benefit whether you're short-handed cruising, couple cruising, or solo delivering a boat. I mean, that's a really great feature to have within this product.
Yeah, and in addition to that, we do have a joystick calibration, a hold function calibration. So you can go out on a calm day and micro adjust your bow and stern thruster to make sure that when you're using that hold function, the boat is moving perfectly sideways and you're not, slightly overpowered on the stern or the bow thruster.
So in addition to the benefits of the proportional thrust, what are also some of the other unique attributes of the Sleipner proportional thruster compared to what else is out on the market?
Yeah, one of the biggest differences is we're the only one that offer a display screen on the joystick. So on that PJC, you get that display screen, and there's a ton of features that you gain through that, in addition to being able to, adjust your hold function. You can calibrate the joystick, limit the level of thrust. You can view the motor data. So really helpful in determining, how, if you're running the thruster for long periods of time, how quickly is it heating up? You can go to the thruster info panel in that system and see the voltage, the amp draw, the motor temperature, all in real time. It's very helpful for troubleshooting as well. If any issues were to come up, you don't have to be sticking your head down, removing stuff to get down into a bilge. You can get all that right there at the helm.
So boat owners say they currently have an on-off thruster in their boat. Is this something that can be done as an upgrade?
Yeah, we offer a proportional upgrade program through Imtra, and it's pretty straightforward. We try to make it as easy as possible. Not only can we upgrade Sleipner side power thrusters from on-off to proportional, but we could typically do the same for other brand on-off thrusters. So say you wanted to upgrade to a bow and stern proportional thruster, but you had only a bow on-off thruster. We could get that bow thruster motor back to us for rewiring and send out the rest of the components for the complete upgrade.
Is this something that a really good DIY boater could do if they sent out this stuff to you? Or is this something that really needs a technician to do the install and replace?
We always recommend a qualified technician if a customer is not comfortable with high amp loading electronics. The thruster is one of the highest, if not the highest, amp drawing piece of equipment on the boat, especially the larger 12-volt thrusters. They draw a high amp load. If someone's comfortable with that and dealing with those electronics, then it's certainly something they can do. We just don't want anyone doing something that they're uncomfortable with.
From a price range cost perspective, in terms of the thrusters you offer, what's kind of the range and size of boats that this is applicable to?
Yeah, so proportional thrusters in general, going on boats anywhere from, the low 20-foot range up to nearly 100-foot, depending on, the windage of a boat. We can go DC pretty big. We have a SEP 300. 300 kilograms of thrust typically on the larger boats, 48-volt model. Price range, varies obviously throughout the model range. On the lower end of the SEP 40 used on the smaller boats, list price sits around $31.25. And then going up to the largest one in the system there, it's about $12,800.
Still in the scheme of things for for enhancing the boating experience and investment in your boat and not just for your own pleasure, but for resale. I mean, it's probably a pretty solid investment in your boat.
Definitely. And Sleipner is very good about issuing firmware updates. And we can update the software and firmware on all the S-Link components on the boat. So it's not something that really goes, out of date like some of the older stuff does.
For boaters who are maybe in the off season now, or their off season is coming up, depending on where you are in the world when you're seeing this, we've heard a lot about supply chain issues, supply chain hiccups, being able to get product. Are the thrusters from Sleipner through Imtra available now? Is there product available for people who are looking to do this?
Yeah, everything is readily available now. Obviously, there was some impacts from the supply chain for just about everybody, but Sleipner's worked through that and everything's readily available.
For somebody who may be interested in learning more about the Sleipner proportional thrusters, where's the best place for them to get information?
Yeah, you can contact Imtra. You can contact me directly. We have a lot of information, videos on our website, imtra.com. Mm-hmm. We have a video library and a learning center. So if you have specific interests, you can track those down in the learning center and video library.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you learned a lot about the Sleipner proportional thrusters. And we're going live right after this. So see you in a minute. Hey, everybody. We are back. Hope you all enjoyed that. Steve gave us some great information there. We have Steve live. If you have a question for him, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the webinar here and send your question that way. And we will have Steve answer it for you. Got one right here. So, Steve, if you have an on-off bow thruster already and you want to go to a proportional thruster, what's the cost of the upgrade?
Yeah, so Imtra, through our program, will help with the shipping costs. We'll send out the box to get the motor back to us. The biggest cost of the upgrade is the PPC unit that's required, like I mentioned, as well as the PJC controller. So for all those components, you're looking at roughly $3,000 to $3,500 per thruster. That's at the list pricing.
Sleipner has also announced the launch of a new brushless thruster. So could you tell us a little bit about that and when will those be available?
So we've been learning a lot more about that recently. Availability is going to be early next year, probably by February 1st. And we plan to display some product, hopefully at the Miami show. It's going to be a bit of a game changer. Obviously, there's some brushless thrusters on the market right now. The reason Sleipner took so long is because they tried to go back to their roots and design the motor in-house. So they're assembling these at their factory. And it's really the first motor that's being built for marine use. Most of the other motors and thrusters on the market, they take a standard DC or in these cases the brushless motors and just put it in a boat. And obviously water damage and water intrusion is a big problem for a lot of installations. These new eVision thrusters are going to be all IP rated out of the box. There's no big plastic housing around them. And yeah, we're going to be learning a lot more about them in the next couple months. So stay tuned for that.
So here's a question. So you had mentioned that they're high amp load drawing equipment. With a proportional thruster, is there any benefit with regards to the amount of amps it's drawing at a particular time? Is it easier on the system, a proportional thruster? Is there any difference at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So, not only do you get an easier, take it easier on your batteries when you're using it at less than 100% thrust, but it's also less aggressive on the equipment. Obviously, if you were to floor your car every time you got in it, you would give it a pretty good workout and, things start to rattle loose, and it's just a lot easier on the thruster gear leg when you can control that throttle range. And
So then that does extend the life?
Yeah, certainly. And the solenoids is one of the most common things that we see needing replacement. Not so much on the proportional systems, because the solenoids actually engage prior to the voltage being delivered to the thruster. So you don't have a high amp spike to snap those solenoids shut and create an arc, which is what damages those contacts.
You had mentioned that you have the learning center. So what kind of videos related to the proportional thrusters are available there, or what information is available there?
Kind of goes across both, on, off, and proportional. We have specific proportional videos showing, the proportional upgrade process. We have a new video that Peter Nolet commentates, going through the display screen on the PJC and all the settings and setup that is required or can be accessed, because a lot of those features kind of go under the radar. So that's a really good one as well. And then just general thruster videos, changing out parts, tunnel installations, stuff like that can really help a DIYer if they're trying to change a coupler, shear pin, something like that, just to really see it rather than just read it in a manual.
So what's the estimated turnaround time if somebody sends you in there on off and you're going to change to a proportional thruster? About what is the time does it take to convert that?
Yeah, so in-house for us, typically, we would turn it around in about a week. That's granted, we've got all the parts, which currently we do. In the meantime, oftentimes what we'll do is in the box, as I mentioned, we'll send a box for, with a UPS return label for a customer to send their motor and equipment back to us. What we'll do is we'll put all the cables, the PPC unit, the PJC controller in that box when we send it out to the customer. And that way they can start working on, the electrical installation, running cables and harnesses, and do all that in the meantime while we're upgrading the thruster and trying to send it back.
So you've had these proportional thrusters and people who have done the conversion, had the experience. What kind of feedback have you gotten from people who have either had zero thruster or an on-off thruster and then converted to the proportional thruster?
Well, I can tell you we've had a lot of people that have, upgraded from on-off, and we have not yet had someone go backwards from a proportional to an on-off. Seems kind of obvious there, but the feedback's been really good. A lot of people are really happy with the extended run times they're getting, as well as just the additional features.
I would think just that having that high level of control just creates a whole new, level of confidence at the wheel, especially if you're in heavy current, unfamiliar waters.
Yeah, and even getting out of tight spaces, on a quiet day, we get a lot of comments about how, and this is a classic, case of boaters, they don't want to be heard hammering on their thruster. So getting out of those quiet spaces around other boats and people along the docks with the proportional thruster, if you don't need all that thrust and you're using it at low levels, you really don't hear it. So people tend to get the, compliments on their driving abilities and being impressed with how they can maneuver through those boats without a thruster, even though they might be using one.
Okay, we have a question here from Tom Friel. For conversion of one of your on-off bow thrusters, does the boat have to come out of the water?
That's a good question. It does not. To remove the motor, the gear leg and the motor bracket, they stay the same. And removing the motor can happen with the boat in the water. So the boat can, you can still use your boat while we have your motor to get upgraded. And you don't have to pay to, haul out.
Gotta love no downtime.
Yep.
Especially in places like where you're in Massachusetts, I'm in New York, right? We have shortened seasons. So when you have a short season, every day matters. Tom, thank you so much for that question. Let's see, do we have any other questions outstanding at this point? So I think we're good there. So if somebody wanted to see the entire product lineup, is Imtra.com, is that the place to go? And they can go through all the proportional thrusters that are offered?
Yep. Yeah, we've got them all listed on our website. You can browse through basically all the products that we have available on the website. We also store the catalogs and a lot of the manuals, all that information either in our document library, or there's a separate page for all of the product catalogs as well. So you can download the Sleipner product catalog and read through that. It's got a lot of good information in there.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. Thank all of you for joining us on this webinar and asking these awesome questions about the Sleipner proportional thrusters. Again, go to Imtra for all of your information about the proportional thrusters or the host of Imtra products that are available to make your boating better. I'm Patrick Shaka signing off for now, but stay tuned for more because more is coming.